Welcome to the Sherry Andrea Psychic Empath Show with your host, Sherry Andrea. Sherry Andrea brings her listeners interesting discussions and topics related to empathy, psychic and spiritual development, as well as energy work. She is herself a psychic empath, healer, coach, author, and founder of SherryAndrea.com. Welcome, and here is your host, Sherry Andrea.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining me. This is your host, Sherry Andrea, and I have on the air with me our co-host, Stella. Stella, say hi.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
And we also have a really awesome guest tonight. First of all, let me give the call-in number so I don't forget to do that. You can feel free, of course, as usual, to call in, ask a question that's related to the topics that we're going to be discussing tonight. We won't be doing any mini readings. However, probably in the near future, what we'll do is we'll add another half an hour show or something sometime during the week so that we can do that. But so we'll take your call, but try to stick to questions about the topic. And now I want to tell you about our guest tonight, Jan Revell. Oh, and I spaced out just that fast. The guest call-in number is 714-816-4750. And the chat room will also be open, so you can feel free to go into the chat room. And also, if you want to ask a question, and I'll read your question, and me, Jan, can answer it for you. And our host tonight is Jan Revell. Now, Jan is an angel reader, Reiki Master, energy healer, and she is the co-creator, and what I mean by that is the universe has gifted her with the soul body blueprint method, and she is going to bless us tonight and talk to us about this awesome technique and method that she is sharing with everyone, which is her purpose in this lifetime. Jan, are you there?
I sure am.
Hi.
Sherry and Stella. Hi.
Hi. It's great to have you. I was really excited about tonight's show. You are such an awesome person. I spent a little bit of time on both of your websites, your personal website, the Jan Revell, and also the Soul Body Blueprint Method. And you are an amazing person. The funny thing is, I sent Stella a link to one of your posts that I had read that was a tribute to your mother. And I was thinking, it was a good thing that I read it about 2 hours before we came on the air because I was crying.
Oh, my God. I know, me too.
Yes, I was like, oh, my goodness, thank goodness I read this a couple hours before so I can get myself back together because, halfway through it, I was just bawling.
Oh, my.
And now...
I'd like to tell you that when I started reading that at the church that my mother belonged to, I could see the pastor sitting there at the first sentence when I said, as almost everybody here knows, my mother and I were never friends. And he just sort of started out of his chair like he was ready to tackle me and take me down. He didn't know how it was going to end up.
Oh, but the way you started, I totally related every step of the way. That's why by the time I got, to almost the end, I was crying. I totally related to it. And, it was you are such a good writer. I'm going to have to go back and read more of your blog because you really made me feel it. And now... I wanted to ask you, you grew up in Boston?
I did, yeah.
And when, now, you actually, in Boston, you went to, I think it was Mass General,
Right.
And what did you study at Mass General?
Oh, I trained as an X-ray technician at Mass General, and after I graduated, my chief tech there was absolutely fabulous, got me a job in Germany. So I went right from graduating at Mass General over to Munich, Germany, and worked in a hospital over there.
And now I know this because I read your site, but this is what really amazed me about you. At the age of 26, you went to Germany. And now tell everyone what you had when you went to Germany. What did you go to Germany with?
Oh, I had a round-trip ticket on Icelandic Airlines, which doesn't even exist anymore, and it was good for a year, and I had $50 in my pocket, and I had a job that was waiting for me, and I didn't get paid for the first 8 weeks that I was there because they had to prove that my credentials were equal to their credentials.
Right, and so now what did you do during the 8 weeks with only $50?
A young friend that I met at the hospital, a coworker, lived in Munich. I lived outside of Munich with a woman and her daughter, and they graciously agreed to wait on the rent until I got paid my first paycheck. And the girl my friend Nancy, who lived in Munich itself, we'd go over to her house, her apartment, for dinner each night, which consisted of a hot pot to heat water up for coffee, and we cooked eggs in that water. So we had hard-boiled eggs and a semmel, which is like a Kaiser roll, with butter and honey and maybe a piece of cheese, and then we made coffee out of the water, and that was dinner every night pretty much until I got paid.
Wow, that was really amazing. And I was like, when I was reading that, I was like, oh my goodness, I wish I had the nerve at 26 to do something like that. I was like, she is really amazing that you just picked up and left. Now, you basically started, at a young age, you basically started kind of in the health field.
Yes.
And that kind of...
That seems like I've always been in the health field somehow.
Right. I mean, I know you did many other things, like you've been in magazine publishing, you've been an instructor, you even worked as an event coordinator. But did you seem to just keep being pulled back to the health field in some way?
Yes, it seemed like every time I tried to get away from it, I was drawn back to it. So apparently, I came here to do something related to health. And most of the work that I've done, even outside of medical stuff, has been like massage therapy, and then now the Soul Body Blueprint that came to me while I was doing massage. So physical, medical, herbal related stuff. Yeah.
Because I know that once you left Germany, by way of New York, Boston, Omaha, you eventually made your way to Oregon, where you got into massage therapy. Now, during that time, you were gifted with I'm messing it up. I'm looking right at it and still mixing up the words. The Soul Body Blueprint method while you were there. Now, I know that you communicate with angels also, so, and from a young age. So how was it that you were gifted with this? Did the angels give it to you?
Well, I wasn't really, as far as I knew, I wasn't really talking with angels at that point. First of all, in 1970, a friend and I were in London, and we went to the London Psychical Society, where the man that we visited with told my friend, he was just gaga over my friend and how excited he was that she was there and I guess she was supposed to be very psychic. And he looked at me and he said, well, if you have any psychic ability, you're going to have to really work at it. So
really?
To me, that said, oh yeah. And I was devastated. I was really disappointed. And I said, well, okay, so I'm not psychic. I'll just have to go along with that. So everything I did the fact that I had been talking with my father after his death, that my grandmother and I were talking after her death, and that I had other people that we had communications. There was one young man in Oregon who died in an accident, and I felt pretty close to him, and I was sitting in my living room one day, the day after he had died, when I was told about it, and I was just devastated. He had fallen from 100 feet onto his head and died from those injuries, and I was just kept imagining the horror of what he went through, and all of a sudden he was sitting beside me on the couch, and he put his arm around me, and he talked to me about it, and basically the message that he said was, if you keep on imagining that horror, then you tie me here.
Wow.
You prevent me from going on to see all of the colors and hear all of the music and do all of the things that I'm here to do.
Wow.
And so at the end of the conversation, I was glad that he came and talked to me about that, but it really made an impact. And I realized I couldn't hold on to that. I had to let him go and let him go with love. And shortly after that, my housemate walked into the room. She had been someplace else doing something. She walked into the room and stopped right at the entrance of the room, just stopped dead in her tracks, and she said, Greg's been here, hasn't he?
Wow.
So it wasn't just, and that was affirmation for me that it wasn't just my imagination, that there actually was somebody corroborating that he had in fact been there. So, but these are things that you still say, oh, I'm not psychic, so it must be just intuitive or whatever. And when I was doing massage, then everything that I got was intuitive, and people would say, oh my gosh, you're so psychic, and I'd say, no, I'm not. I am not psychic.
Well, and because you had the way you had been, you probably, most people say that they kind of grew up with it, even though maybe they didn't have a name for it. They didn't really, they couldn't put a name to it and to what they were doing and what was going on. And most people say that they always thought everyone else was like that too. So to you, that was probably just normal for you. So you probably didn't identify with it being something different or extra special.
Not really, I didn't. It was, I knew that not everybody had those connections, but it didn't make me special. And I think that in the 70s there was the time when if you labeled yourself as psychic, or the psychics that I knew in any case, came across as being a little bit holier than thou. I'm psychic, and you're not. So I'm a little bit better than you are, because I've got this special gift.
Right,
and
exactly.
It was that same attitude that man had said, well, you're psychic, you're going to have to work at it. So I decided it was not worth working. And at some point in time, I realized that working on my spiritual development, that everything else is a byproduct. Any psychic events, any intuition, anything that happens is a byproduct of spiritual development. So I was really kind of grateful to him because I didn't focus on I'm psychic and let go of the rest of what really is important.
Exactly. So that actually helped you a great deal.
Yeah.
The way you identified with the metaphysics that was coming out of you, the way you actually identified it in a subtle way actually ended up helping.
Right. Yeah, and it wasn't until recently when I don't know if you've seen it, the email that goes around that asks if you want to host 5 angels or archangels for 5 days, and I said, yeah. So
I haven't seen that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hosted these 5 angels in my space, and I was, each day I'd kind of sit down and chat with them, and I absolutely noticed a difference in the whole energy level when they arrived and also when they left. But it was during that time when they very clearly spoke to me. It was pretty amazing. And they told me I would be doing angel readings. And I said, no, you're out of your bloody mind. What are you talking about? No. And they stood in front of me. There were at least 3 of them in front of me. And they stood there and they said, well, you will. And I said, no. And I continued arguing with them. And then finally I whined, and none of that really worked.
Right.
And finally they stood there, and I actually saw them get really tall, really big, and their wings went up over their shoulders. You know, they didn't spread their wings, but the wings went high,
right.
and their voices got really, really deep, and they said, "You will, because that is your purpose." And I went,
wow.
Are you sure?
I know.
So
I've heard from so many people when they're told you're going to be doing this, and they don't believe it. They're like, well, right. or it's not something that they want to do or seen themselves doing it, and so in the beginning they will insist, no, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. Well, I finally held a personal challenge, and I opened it up to a local group networking group I belong to, and I said, I will give you a reading in exchange for honest feedback. And 15 people said, me. And so right. I gave the reading, and I got the feedback from them, and every bit of it was, this is real, don't stop. So I said, okay.
That is amazing. So do you still do, now when you do, well, let me ask you this question first. After you got your massage therapy license, now you said that during the course of that is when you were gifted with the Soul Body Blueprint method. So did your angel readings play a part in that? Because can you explain more exactly what is the Soul Body Blueprint method?
Okay, let me preface it real quick by saying that after the angels told me last year that I would be doing angel readings, I realized that I was living in the same town where in 1977 I was given this method of the Soul Body Blueprint, and I had left and been gone for 30-plus years. And now all of a sudden I was back in that town, and all this stuff was coming up again. And I realized that the Soul Body Blueprint is really what the angels wanted me to do. This is part of my work, my purpose as doing angel readings. So what happened back then, though, I didn't recognize any sort of angelic influence back then. What happened was I was doing massage, and it just sort of came to me, kind of one of those fully downloaded things, about the meanings of the body. So reading the body, and while I was doing the massage, I was reading the body. So I started giving people body readings, and we taped them, and they got the tape. It took an hour and a half to do, and I asked for feedback and got feedback on it. And then I started teaching it, and then one day I said, well, I know that these kinds of gifts are usually given to 5 people or more at a time. So if one person decides not to run with it or something happens, that somebody else will do it. And I said, I'm going to assume and gift this to somebody that I've taught or whoever else this was downloaded to, and I'm going to go live my life.
Okay.
So I left the area, and I kept going with it over the years, and it kept developing because it was something that just kept coming up. So I kept developing it and refining it. And then all of a sudden, like I said, I ended back in this same area where I had been gifted it in the first place. And I realized that doing research online, talking to people, looking for books, nobody is teaching it. So 30-plus years have gone by, and nobody is teaching this method. There are things that are tangentially similar, there are things that kind of touch on it as a lot of things overlap, but nobody is teaching it in depth like I am teaching it. And it's absolutely fascinating. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about with it is to be able to teach parents and grandparents and adults in a child's life how to do this technique. And they can become certified. I mean, I've got the certified course. They don't have to. I can do shorter courses for them. But if they know the basics, if they know the messages, well, I guess I should tell you what it is before I go in there, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The Soul Body Blueprint is are messages that our soul, each of us, our individual soul, has imprinted into our bodies before we're born as an instruction manual, as a blueprint, as reminders of this is the reason you came here, this is your purpose, and here are the ways that you chose to achieve your purpose. Here are lessons that you chose to learn, and here are the ways you chose to learn those lessons. And it's all there, literally, as plain as the nose on your face. Literally.
Now, when you say literally, I mean, what?
The nose on your face tells the story.
What is somebody reading? Are they reading? Are you referring to reading the physical body?
Yes.
Okay. Your
physical body is actually an instruction manual. It's your roadmap to find your way. It's the reminders from your own soul that says, look, this is what you chose to do in this lifetime. This is how you chose to do it. These are lessons that you chose to learn, and it all shows up in your body. So if I give you a real quick idea of it, let's just say the right side of the body, this correlates with the hemispheres of the brain. The right side of the body is the rational, logical side. It's the side of responsibility, obligation, and duty. The left side of the body is the side of intuition and emotion. It's the creative side.
Okay.
So every single person has one. If you look in a mirror, you'll see that one of your cheeks has more personality than the other one. One looks kind of, well, it's there, but it never really developed into much of anything, and the other one has a real personality to it.
Okay.
That cheek, whether it's right or left, is the fundamental personality that you were born with.
Okay.
That is your stronger and more developed aspect.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about, because sometimes you look in the mirror and you smile and you'll think, well, that's odd. This is higher than that, or this is bigger than that.
Right. And so if you have a child, so I'll go back to the parent-grandparent thing. If you have a child who is born totally rational and logical, then the adults in that child's life have the ability, by knowing how to read even just the basics, by knowing how to give them opportunities to, first of all, learn that intuition and emotion and creativity are real and that they're valid and they're viable. Okay. So some of the ways, and you can start right from infancy. You can literally read an infant's body and know some of the things that they're going to go through and why they came here. You can get that information. So that way you can give them opportunities, like, for instance, being able to that they can learn to trust that touch is okay. So holding them on the lap or holding them and stroking them, letting them know that having emotions is okay, that it's all right to cry, it's all right to be angry, it's all right to laugh. And one of the things to do with a child like that, when they get a little older, and you can do this as an adult for yourself, is to, my favorite trick to teach somebody how to trust their intuition and even recognize it's there, is when you meet somebody new and you shake hands with them, have somebody ask you or tell you, now tell me about that person. And just start just verbally letting it out, just saying whatever comes to mind, and you will be amazed the information that you've gotten from that person. And if you know them for over 6 months or a year or whatever, you have an opportunity to see where you were right, where you were wrong, if you were, and to, just find out. It verifies for you and validates your intuitive connection. Okay,
so I see. So you could do this not only for yourself, I mean, looking in the mirror, but you could do this for anyone.
Yes. In fact, I'm doing, I just posted today on my website, I just added a page called Sample Readings. And I did a reading, I posted one that I had done for somebody and gave a shorter version of the reading. And then I also am working on some celebrity photos. So the first one I did is Steve Martin. And Steve Martin, which I didn't know until I did this reading on him, Steve Martin is incredibly psychic. I don't know a lot about Steve Martin because I don't, except a few movies that I've seen, and I know he's funny. I know he plays an instrument. That's all I know about him, really.
Exactly, me too.
I was astounded of the information that I found out about him just by reading his face.
Well, I've heard of face readings, portrait readings. We do them sometimes on my forum. So it's similar to that. You're saying you start out reading like just what you physically see or what comes to mind, and you just kind of go with it.
Well, not really.
No?
There is intuition involved in this, but there is also very much physical. So, for instance, when you, let's just say you have one ear that's larger than the other, or it's more prominent than the other. It may be cupped, so it looks like it's hearing, or
I was hoping you wouldn't notice.
Well, and sometimes you notice you have to tuck your hair behind your ears, and you'll see that one ear is more noticeable than the other.
Right.
That's the ear. That is the ear that you hear with. So if it's on the left side, then you tend to hear things intuitively and emotionally. That's how you take the information in.
Okay.
If it's on the right side, then the information that you are taking in orally that you're hearing is taken in on a rational and logical side. So if you find somebody who's really rational and logical, but all of a sudden they come across as being intuitive, like they make this intuitive decision, you'll find that they really have done it based on all of the analytical data that they have taken in by hearing, by seeing, processing it, thinking it, and then they make this intuitive leap.
Okay.
But it's based on all of that analytical stuff. So you can look at somebody's ears. You look at somebody's eyes. Which eye is more active? Which eye is really looking at you? Which eye? And that'll change depending on the situation. If you're in a lecture situation, you'll find most everybody their right eye is most active. But if they're in an intimate situation, chances are the left eye will be most active. But you look at anybody's picture, and you'll see that one eye really looks a lot more prominent. Standing out. It's looking at you. And then you look at somebody's mouth. Look at which side does your hair, let's go to the hair for a minute, which side does your hair grow on the most? And it doesn't matter what side you part it on.
Okay,
it's always thicker or grows faster on one side than the other. The cheek and the hair and the sides of the feet never change. Those are the personality characteristics that you were born with that are your strongest characteristics. The lessons that you've chosen to learn are some of the undeveloped aspects.
Okay.
And those are involve some of the lessons that you've chosen to learn and how you want to learn them. So there are, for instance, I'm looking at the page right now that I put up, and I'm looking at Steve Martin's picture.
Okay.
Steve Martin started out incredibly intuitive. In fact, he's very psychic, like I said. But he started out intuitive, and along the way, he has learned analytical processes. So he listens with his right ear. He sees things and takes in information with his right eye, which means that he's very rational, logical in that regard. And then he's apt to make an intuitive leap once he's processed all that information. He's somebody who he's funny, he's kind, he's probably generous. There is an imp quality in there. He's definitely, I think I used the word he's not balanced at one point. You know that anyway, so that's all right. But this is somebody that you look at him and you see this really nice guy. But there's a quality in there on his right side that says he can be in a business meeting and he can speak corporate language and business language as easily as he can speak the language of feelings and creativity. And if somebody, and he can be in a financial meeting, and if somebody thinks that they're going to pull the wool over his eyes, they've got another thing coming. There is I was trying to think of the word for it today. There's an authority there. It's an attitude. Donald Trump comes to mind. I mean, I'm not a Donald Trump fan by any means, but when I look at Steve Martin's face and I see his right eye and the right side of his face, I go, this is a man who will not be stepped on.
Wow. Yeah, he does kind of have that look too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I might be being in a business meeting with him and only knowing him from what I've seen on television with the comedy and everything, like I would be very surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people do because they mistakenly think that this is a nice guy. He's got a really congenial, pleasant face. He looks harmless. He doesn't look like a gangster or anything, but there's that hard side that is right there and that knows he can do figures. He can, talk to a CEO, an accountant, and he may not, like me with an accountant, he may not understand everything, but he gets the idea enough to understand and be clear.
Right, exactly. Now,
and actually you can see all these within the people's, on their features.
Right, right. And this doesn't require any intuition. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be psychic.
Right, exactly.
Anybody can do it. Anybody can learn how to do it.
And now you were...
your courses.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
And this is what you teach in your courses then?
Yes, yeah. I'm teaching a course.
Interesting.
It's a certification course, so people can become certified in this technique and learn how to do it and practice it. And then after they've done it for probably around 9 months, then I'll hold a certified instructor class so they can go out and teach other people. But I want to teach people and get them certified in it so that I'm not the only one doing it. Because this is something that I've been told needs to be brought to the world. People need to know this information. And it isn't just for adults. It's to make sure that this next generation of children that's growing up is taught, is reminded of the reason that they're here, is given the information, given the ability and the opportunities to remember, to develop in an integrated and balanced way. So that by the time they're 15 or 20 years old, they already are integrated and balanced and have a head start on their lessons. I mean, think about it. How old were you when you finally figured out that some of this stuff? Most people are 20, 30, 50, 60 if they ever learn it.
Yeah, I was close to 40.
Yeah. So, I mean, wouldn't it have been wonderful if somebody had been able to help you so that by the time you were 20, you already had a head start on this?
Oh, exactly. I always say that. I always say, if I would have come across the things that I know now and understand now back when I was in my early 20s, I think, imagine how far along, I could be.
Right. Well, we've always had that saying, if I knew then what I know now. Well, here is one opportunity to actually teach children so that they will know then. They will know when they're young, and they won't have to say that.
And I'm sure that, with a child, like I have an 8-year-old, so they probably will have an easier time going through, adolescence, the tough years, high school. They will probably, there'll probably be some things that will be a lot easier for them to deal with.
Yes, and partly because they'll already be more balanced, so they can't be thrown off balance quite as easily.
Wow.
The peer pressure won't get to them quite as much. And they will not participate as much in peer pressure on somebody else.
Exactly. Right, exactly. They're more balanced, they're more aware. Mm-hmm. And so they won't fall prey to things as easily.
Right.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, though, is do you ever get people coming to you that either have addiction problems, weight problems, past trauma and abuse problems? Can this method help someone who is dealing with those things?
That's a good question. I think it can help in that it brings self-awareness. Whether it's going to help somebody to get over their addiction, that, that's something that they have to do. But I think it can help by bringing awareness to them, and it can explain some of the stuff that they've been going through and didn't understand.
Right, because you said that it helps you access memories. And so if you have some type of addiction or fear, weight problem, so is it possible that maybe there's something that went on in the past in their life that they're not even realizing ties into the issue they're having? Is that what you mean by it helps you access memories?
There is some of that. In fact, there's quite a bit of it. Most of the readings that I'm doing for online and quickly are of the face. But when we go into the full course, we do the entire body. And one of the things that you can look at just in yourself and think about is, for instance, in your back. Your shoulders, our shoulders get tense, right? The shoulders are, if you look at your back on either side of the spine, it's kind of shaped like a wine bottle. And at the very top of the shoulder is the cork.
Right.
So the tighter the shoulders get, the tighter the cork is, which means that if you've got really, really sore shoulders and you're building that up, you never have to look deeper than that. You never have to go and look at anything. You just have all your tension is right there in your shoulders. So that's from having to look at stuff. So then as you go down between the shoulder blades is more everyday stuff now. This is how you're dealing with stuff right now. And then as you get lower than that, it decreases in age. So then you get down to younger adult and youth, and down at the sacroiliac area, you're talking about infancy. When you get down to the sacrum and the coccyx, now you're talking about past life stuff. But I've had past life stuff show up in the back. And there's usually a certain place that it will show up, and it shows up in the back. And when I first saw that happen, I said, well, what's the point? Everybody wants to be a king or a queen, so what's the point of past life stuff showing up now? And the answer that I was given is that it related to, and every time this proved out to be true, it related to something that was going on in the person's life right now.
Right, exactly. So now,
I want to be King Tut. It was, this was a specific issue, and it's affecting your life right now.
And so when you use the method and you realize something like that, what is your goal? Is your goal to heal the things that you've uncovered?
No. My goal is to bring awareness to people of what's in their own body. Because right now, most people don't know.
Right.
And they go around living their life pretty unconsciously. So my goal is to allow them to wake up to what's going on in their body and the messages that are in their body. What they do with it from there is something that is totally separate from what the soul body blueprint is about. If they need counseling or coaching, or they're fine and they can go from there, but I can make recommendations, and I've done that quite a bit.
But I can also imagine that sometimes uncovering things, realizing the truth of things, is actually, to some point, to some level, is quite healing in itself.
Yes, it is.
So I can imagine, even if they still have to deal with it and resolve it, that actually has a positive effect on them, just the awareness of all these things that they're uncovering.
Right, it does. It does. And it's fun, too, to watch, to do it over the years, to do your own body reading. And right now I do them because I'm not doing massage anymore. I do them through drawings that people do of themselves.
Okay.
And it's fun I've done this myself, is draw a picture of yourself from the front, draw a picture of the back, and then I have people put ink on their feet and stand on paper so that I get the bottom of the foot, because the bottom of the foot has so much information in it. And And you can look at, over the years, do these drawings, and you can say, do a drawing of yourself, and you can interpret this drawing and go, wow, here's the changes that I've made.
Wow, that's amazing.
Here are some things that I thought I had changed, but, wow, it's not showing up. It's still right there. So
now you've got me wanting to pull out old photo albums. And I can imagine you probably.
Good, but yeah. Go ahead.
I can imagine that, you know, if you did that, even if you just did a face reading, that if you pull out some photo albums, that it would tell a story, a progression to, you know, how you were, you know, changing and all along the way.
Yes, you'd be able to see it, yeah.
That's amazing.
The thing is that most of the pictures that I'm doing from faces, it has to be a full front-on view, because if the head is tilted at all, then it changes. You know, if you turn your head to the side a little bit, then you can't tell which ear is really the prominent ear, which eye is really the prominent eye, or if somebody smiles, you can't really tell what side their smile goes to. And I'll give you a real quick lesson for you and all your listeners.
Okay.
When you look at somebody's face, and I've told you this before, the cheek that has the most personality is the side they were born with, whether it's intuitive, emotional, creative, or whether it's rational, logical.
Okay.
The side of hair that is the thickest or that grows the fastest, same thing. When you look at somebody's eye, then you're looking at which eye are they using the most? Which one is the most active? And that's telling you how they take in information visually. Which ear is the most prominent tells you how they take in information auditorially. And then, whichever way the nose goes, and the nose is fascinating because it bypasses the computer of the brain completely and goes straight to memory. So if you've got somebody whose nose goes to the right, which is the rational, logical side, when they smell a smell from childhood or something that sparks the memory, they'll say, wow, that smell reminds me of, and they'll go on to describe whatever the event is. If it's somebody where the nose goes to the left, they tend to be the intuitive, emotional ones, and that smell comes up for them. It will put them into almost a flashback situation. They will be in that situation. They will see the situation. They will feel it. Everything will be right there for them. So that's the difference just in how the nose works. The mouth, if you laugh, you see somebody laughing, which side does their mouth go to? Does it go to the right or the left? And chances are, for most people, it's going to go one way or the other. When you watch somebody talking, then you watch their jaw and the lower lip, because whichever way that goes tells you how they talk to the world, whether they use rational, logical language or intuitive, emotional language. Okay? And then you look at the upper lip, and I'm sure you've seen people whose upper lip never moves at all. I would not trust somebody whose upper lip doesn't move because they're hiding secrets.
Oh, there's a couple of people I've got to check.
Because the upper lip is how you talk to yourself. So they don't always match. They don't always match the upper and the lower. You know, somebody can very easily speak to the world in corporate business language, but when they talk to themselves, they talk in intuitive language and emotional language.
That's if the upper lip doesn't move that much?
No, that's if the upper lip goes to the left.
Oh, okay.
If the upper lip doesn't move, then that person is hiding themselves from the world.
Okay. Now, could that be, but that could change, right? I mean, literally, maybe if you're on a topic with them that they're not really comfortable sharing, could that change and be that way, but maybe not in other situations that they may be talking about?
Well, it possibly could, but you think about it, too, and chances are, as a child, they didn't have that quality. They were more open, and they showed themselves more. But somewhere along the way, because this usually is only going to be seen in adults, along the way they have learned that they do not want to share themselves, that they distrust the world is hurtful and harmful, or whatever their reason is, and so they're not going to trust the world, and they're going to keep themselves completely secret. They're going to hide themselves from the world. And that's just one way of seeing that they do that. Another really fascinating thing that's quick and easy to tell is if somebody is how well you're dealing with your emotional situation, and that has to do with your shoulder blades. So if you get a massage or somebody comes up and touches you, and your shoulder blades, the inside and the bottom part of it, are tense or tender, then that means whichever side it is, you're not handling your emotions either rationally and logically on the right, or intuitively rationally and logical, or intuitive emotional on the left. So whichever side it's on, you're not handling your emotions very well in that regard. So that gives you an opportunity to look at what's going on in your life that you're not handling this very well.
Okay. Yeah, and that makes sense too, because like whenever anyone tries to give me like a shoulder massage anywhere near the neck, I know I always feel like more sensitive on one side than the other.
Right.
Now,
so that's the side you want to look at to see what's going on there.
Okay, now I have to ask you, because you mentioned the hair growing longer, and that's the thing that I always notice, and I've always been curious about that, because the left side of my hair is always thicker and always longer than the right. Now, what does that mean?
That would tell me that chances are, if you look in the mirror, that your right cheek is more developed than the left cheek. It tells me that probably your left foot is wider and or longer than your right foot, because it carries through the whole body. And the hair and the cheek and the foot are things that don't change. That's what you're born with. So you were born intuitive, emotional, creative.
Oh, okay.
People who are born left-sided tend to be more. They're going to be the ones who talk to angels and are psychic and do all that kind of woo-woo stuff. I'm very left-sided.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm looking at your picture a little bit. That's the right side. And from that picture that I see on your radio show, you're kind of looking up and at an angle, but it looks to me like your right eye is more active than your left eye. Your left mouth is, nose goes to the left. Okay, so you are predominantly a left-sided, intuitive, emotional person, but you tend to take in information visually, very rationally and logical. So in other words, if you're reading a book or you're reading a script, it has to make logical sense.
Right, yes, that's absolutely correct. That is absolutely right. Wow.
Okay, good.
And I always
Go ahead.
I always wondered, every now and then I see someone on television, maybe on the news, and they do an up close shot of them, and that is when you can usually notice that their nose goes a certain way, either to the right or the left. And I always wondered about that, because I noticed that for most people their nose isn't straight.
Right. And even if their nose is broken, it will end up where the overall impression and or the tip of the nose will go one way or the other. And the other thing is that one nostril is usually a little bit larger than the other one.
Now, what would it mean?
We can get into the nitty-gritty of every little part of your body.
Right, I see that.
That's what the certification course is for, because it's just there's too much to do.
I see that. That is so interesting, because, the funny thing is, all the things that I ever wondered about, when it comes to looking at people and noticing certain things about them like that, it seems like your course answers all those questions.
Yes. Well, it answers a lot of questions. Certainly for this kind of a thing, yeah.
That is so amazing.
The thing about it is, like I said, it doesn't take anybody special to learn how to do it. Everybody can learn how to do it. The times when it's really, really super valuable, in addition to parents and adults in a child's life, is when somebody is a counselor or a coach, when somebody's a physical therapist or a massage therapist, a body worker, when because it gives them more tools to be able to tell somebody, to tell their client, you might want to consider looking for a counselor, or looking for, or here's my suggestion, or this is what's coming up in your body. And the body doesn't lie. We can lie to ourselves all we want, but the body doesn't lie.
I can imagine this would also be good for law enforcement, lawyers who are trying to do jury selection, to be able to have this skill. I mean, it would be useful for so many different people in different, areas and careers.
Right.
Now, how long is the course?
It's 38 hours.
Okay. Now, do they have to do that in person with someone?
Right now, it's strictly a live course. I haven't quite figured out how to be able to do it online yet, although I'm working on possibly being able to do that with a small group of people. But right now, these are live courses, yes.
Okay. And that's why it's important that you kind of get this out there to as many people, get them trained in the course and certified, so that, and I can imagine you probably have people from all over the country.
Well, there are people from all over actually internationally, who are really interested in it, but we just need to make sure there's enough people to be able to, for me to go to Japan.
Right, exactly.
Go to Europe to teach it, So, yeah.
That is really awesome.
There's a course coming up in Boston in July, and then there's another course in Portland, Oregon in October.
Okay.
And then we're looking at possibly heading down to Florida sometime in that beautiful winter season, November to beginning of May, somewhere in there.
Yes, because I'm in Florida, and I know that you were in Florida for a while, too.
Yes, I was,
Yes, I saw all the interesting I saw the picture of the alligator on your blog.
Yeah. So now I'm doing something that might be fun, because over the next few days I'm going to be finishing these. I'm doing a reading on Sandra Bullock right now.
Wow.
And my Positive Conversations group decided that I should be on the Ellen show, so I'm going to be doing a quickie reading on Ellen, and then also on her wife, Portia de Rossi. Is that how you say her name?
De Rossi.
Anyway.
Yeah. That is really interesting. So now, if somebody comes to you and I don't know if you have somebody that comes to you and asks you, well, I want to do the class, maybe not get certified, but at least do the course and learn to do this, but they just want to maybe learn to do the face. Now, do you do that also, where you just give them a course, or do you have a variety of different ways you're doing the course, or is this just always the full body?
I could at some point do one for just the face, but there's so much more in the whole body that the face is just really the tip of the iceberg. I mean, really,
right, exactly.
The tip. And
exactly. From what you've said about even the shoulders or the back, I can tell that.
Yeah. And because my goal is to get the word out there and get other people doing this, so that I'm not the only one doing it,
right?
Then I'd rather be able to teach them the full course and have them go and teach other people, do it. And then come back and take the instructor course so they can teach others to do it.
So maybe one day you'll end up doing something where it's a video class where you'll be able to do this as well?
I'd like to be able to get it to that point. We'll have to see what happens.
Right.
Because, like I said, right now I haven't figured out how to be able to do that because it is so it's so personal intensive. You know, having the people right there to say, look at this, feel this. This is how what it feels like, and you can't do that online.
That's true. That's true. Well, I hope that you do the course in Florida because that would be something awesome, you know, to take, you know, this course. Because just from the little bit you've told me, I'm, like, excited about it. I'm like, that's why I'm like, okay, tell me about the nostril.
Okay, well, we'll have to talk about that then. Yeah.
And well, let me first do this. Let me make sure that I give out your website because I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find it so that they can go read about the program. You've got testimonials on your page, and the web address is soulbodyblueprint.com. And you go to that website, and you can not only find out more about Jan and everything she does, you can see there. I see that you have sample readings there, which are really, awesome. Which is you gave us a taste of what it's like, but you also have sample readings. I see, and now you also have your show that you do, which is Soul Purpose, the Purpose Talk Radio, and that's purposetalkradio.com. So, and then if anyone wants to find these links, the link to Jan's other website, which is janrevell.com, or her Facebook link. All you have to do is go to the show page and scroll down in the description, and you'll see the links right there, as well as on my website where I put the information about the show. And what I'll do, Jan, is I'll write a blog post updating everyone tomorrow with the information, the website, and it's been wonderful. Your Soul Blueprint method is amazing. Just what little bit I've learned of it so far. I think I would say that this is something that everyone, should learn to help themselves, family members, their children.
I agree, and I really hope that people with children in their lives will take the course. Before we get too short on time, Sherry, I want to let everybody know, let your listeners know, that we're going to do a special offer for your listeners. Because the cost of the course right now until June 30th is $1,330. But I'm going to give you the super early bird cost of $950. So that's a $380 reduction in price.
Oh, that's awesome.
When they go and sign up, it will still say $1,330, but when you get to that final page where it says you have a coupon code, put in PERS for Psychic Empath Radio Show.
Okay.
And that way you'll get the $950 price instead of $1,330.
That is awesome. That is a really good discount because I know so many of courses out there are, so expensive, and this is actually very affordable.
Well, I've tried to make it that way because the goal is to get it out there. So
I think for what you're teaching and for what, it could bring to someone's life, I absolutely think that that's an amazing price, and I'll make sure that I put the information about that coupon code on my website. So, I'll put it both on the show description and on my website to make sure everybody has. And it was really, really great that you could be here with us and I really appreciate you sharing the information about the Soul Body Blueprint, because
Thank you.
and you're a wonderful person, and I can't wait to get back and read more of your blog.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me on the show. It's been really a delight. Stella didn't get to say much, but it was good to hear both of you.
Yes, Stella's in the background always. She pops in every now and then.
Okay. All right.
But we appreciate it, and you are amazing, and we will make sure that we get the word out, that everyone knows about the Soul Body Blueprint method. I'll write a post about it, so for anyone who missed the show, I'll give them a little summary of some of the things that we discussed, so that they can, get over to your website, get signed up, because this is something that they'll really want to do and really want to, they'll really benefit from.
All right. Great.
And I hope you have a good night. And everyone, thank you for listening. Stella, thank you for joining me again tonight. I appreciate it.
No problem. And Jan, thank you so much for all your wisdom.
Well, thank you, Stella, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, and we will be seeing everyone next Tuesday. And once again, we look forward to another awesome guest. And everyone, have a great night.
Great, thanks.